The emergency sirens across Theta Station wailed like dying animals. Every alien species in the massive space structure felt their equivalent of fear as impossible readings flooded their sensors. Something had just appeared at the edge of their system, and it defied everything they knew about the laws of physics. Admiral Krell pressed his scaled fingers against the tactical display, trying to make sense of what his instruments were telling him. The unknown vessel registered energy signatures that exceeded the combined output of his entire battle fleet. His 3 hearts hammered in his chest as he watched the readings climb higher and higher beyond anything in their databases. The ship itself was a dark wound against the stars. It seemed to drink in the light from nearby suns, creating a void where something massive floated in the blackness of space. No running lights, no identification signals, no response to their increasingly frantic hails, just silence that made even the bravest warriors in the galaxy nervous. On the bridge of the human vessel, David Ross watched the alien fleet scramble like insects disturbed from their nest. 300 warships belonging to different species were moving into defensive formations around Theta Station. Their weapons were charging, filling space with the distinctive glow of plasma cores reaching dangerous levels. Oracle, the ship's artificial intelligence, spoke in its calm, mechanical voice. All systems are working perfectly. The stealth generators are at full power. Enemy fleets show clear signs of panic and confusion. Ross nodded slowly. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Defiant represented 20 years of human preparation, built in secret shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. Every technology, every weapon system, every defensive measure had been designed with one goal in mind: to make humanity's first impression on the galactic community absolutely unforgettable. The alien commanders were talking to each other on open channels now, their voices filled with worry and uncertainty. Ross could understand most of their languages thanks to decades of careful intelligence gathering. The Vorthons were calling for immediate military action. The Altarians wanted to try diplomacy first. The hegemony forces were already moving into attack positions. "Sir," called Lieutenant Torres from her position at the sensor station. "I'm detecting massive troop movements on the station. Looks like they're evacuating non-military personnel to the lower levels." Ross studied the tactical display showing thousands of life signs moving through the station's corridors. Families running for safety, children being carried by their parents, elderly aliens being helped to secure areas. These people had seen what the galactic powers could do to those who opposed them. They expected the same brutal response they had given to countless other worlds. But humanity was different. They had learned from every species the Council had destroyed, studied every tactical mistake made by civilizations that had tried to resist. More importantly, they had something no other species had possessed when facing the galactic powers: time to prepare and the determination to use it wisely. The communication array crackled to life as Counselor Thess of the Altarian Republic sent out a transmission. Her voice carried the authority of someone used to being obeyed without question. "Unknown vessel. You have entered sovereign space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately or face the consequences of our combined fleets." Ross smiled grimly. The same words they had used on dozens of worlds before burning them to ash. He activated the communication system and prepared to deliver humanity's response to the galaxy. "This is David Ross, representing the people of Earth and the United Nations Space Command. We have come to deliver a message to your council, and we suggest you listen carefully." The reaction was immediate. Alien voices exploded across the communication channels as translators worked frantically to process what they had just heard. Earth was supposed to be a primitive world, barely capable of spaceflight. Their intelligence reports had classified humans as centuries away from interstellar travel. Admiral Krell's voice cut through the chaos. "Impossible. Our surveys of your world showed no evidence of advanced technology. You lack the industrial capacity for interstellar vessels." "Your surveys saw what we wanted you to see," Ross replied calmly. Did you really think a species capable of splitting atoms and reaching their moon would stop advancing just because you weren't watching closely enough? The alien fleets began moving into attack formation, 300 ships arranged in a sphere around the single human vessel. It was an overwhelming display of force, designed to intimidate and crush any resistance before it could begin. Plasma cannons charged to full power, missile tubes loaded with planet-killing warheads, shields raised to maximum strength. Ross watched them position themselves and felt a moment of sadness for what was about to happen. These military commanders thought they understood warfare, thought they knew what they were dealing with. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. "Oracle," he said quietly, "activate the tactical cloak." The Defiant simply vanished. Every sensor on every ship registered empty space where the massive human vessel had been floating moments before. Panic erupted across the alien fleets as commanders screamed orders and sensor operators frantically recalibrated their equipment. Some ships began firing at empty space, their weapons lighting up the darkness with deadly energy beams that hit nothing at all. Then, impossibly, the human ship reappeared. Not where it had been, but directly in the center of their formation, so close to Admiral Krell's flagship that he could see individual hull plates through his bridge windows. The massive vessel hung there like a dark moon, its presence a challenge to everything they thought they knew about technology and warfare. "We call that a tactical cloak." Ross's voice came over the communication channels, as casual as if he were discussing the weather. "It's one of many innovations we developed while you were deciding our fate. The question now is simple. Shall we discuss terms like civilized beings, or would you prefer another demonstration of human ingenuity?" The silence that followed was deafening. 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships, representing the combined military might of a dozen species, had just been outmaneuvered by a single vessel from a world they had dismissed as primitive. The implications were staggering, and every alien commander knew it. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had arrived, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Minister Gorth of the Hegemony Worlds had built his reputation on crushing resistance before it could spread. His massive frame dominated the council chambers as he leaned forward in his seat, forearms folded across his armored chest. The human ship floating outside their windows was an insult to everything he represented. "You speak of terms, human," Gorth rumbled, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds. "Your planet was marked for integration into our collective. One ship, regardless of its tricks, cannot change that reality. We have brought entire star systems to their knees with less resistance than you are offering." The main viewer activated, showing the bridge of the human vessel. The man called Ross appeared younger than most had expected, but his eyes held something that made even seasoned warriors uncomfortable. Behind him, humans moved with focused efficiency, working at stations, filled with technology that seemed to bend light around its edges. Ross consulted a data tablet before looking up at the camera. "Minister Gorth, isn't it? Your forces conquered the Balerian homeworld 6 months ago. 40 billion casualties in the siege alone. The Crystalline Syndicate fell to your advanced fleets last year when you ordered complete orbital bombardment of their 3 core worlds." Gorth's 4 eyes narrowed. This human knew details that should have been classified at the highest levels, information that only the inner circle of the hegemony possessed. How was this possible from a species that had barely achieved spaceflight? "We have been watching you for some time," Ross continued, his voice carrying across the council chambers. "Learning your methods, studying your tactics, understanding exactly who and what we would be dealing with when this day came." The artificial intelligence spoke from the human bridge, its voice somehow reaching every communication system in the area. "Shall I display the tactical analysis for our guests?" Ross nodded, and suddenly every screen in the council chambers, filled with detailed information that should have been impossible to obtain, complete blueprints of their most advanced warships, including specifications that were state secrets, weapon capabilities, shield frequencies, crew rotations, supply schedules, even the personal files of commanding officers. Counselor Drex of the Neural Collective felt his cybernetic implants overheating as they processed what they were seeing. His species prided themselves on information gathering, yet these humans had intelligence that surpassed their best efforts. How did you acquire classified military data from 12 different civilizations? We told you, Ross said simply. We have been watching. Every species you conquered, every world you destroyed, every innovation you absorbed into your collective knowledge. We were there, learning from your victims, studying your methods, preparing for the day when you would turn your attention to Earth. Admiral Krell activated his personal communication system, sending emergency signals to fleet commanders throughout the galaxy. If these humans possessed this level of intelligence, every military installation could be compromised. The implications were terrifying to consider. The human on the screen seemed to read his thoughts. Admiral, your emergency protocols won't help you. We know about the hidden bases in the Outer Rim, the secret weapons facilities in the core worlds, even the location of your mobile command centers. 20 years of preparation gives you time to learn many things. The chamber erupted in angry voices as representatives from various species demanded answers. How could a primitive world have infiltrated their most secure networks? How could they have gathered intelligence across such vast distances without anyone noticing? Ross waited for the noise to die down before continuing. You are wondering how a species you classified as primitive tool users developed technology that makes your fleets look like ancient relics. The answer is actually quite simple, and it reveals something important about how you think. The tactical display shifted to show archived footage from dozens of worlds. Surveillance recordings of the Council's standard conquest protocol played on the screens. Cities burning under orbital bombardment, populations fleeing in terror, resistance, movements crushed with overwhelming force. But scattered throughout the images were human observers. Every world you attacked, we were there, Ross explained. Scientists, diplomats, intelligence operatives who had been studying galactic civilization for decades. We learned about you long before you learned about us. But unlike the species you destroyed, we had something they did not have. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in before delivering the crucial point. Time. The realization hit the Council like a physical blow. While they had been cataloging Earth as a future conquest, humanity had been preparing for war. Not just any war, but a conflict against enemies whose capabilities and tactics they understood completely. 20 years of knowing you were coming, Ross continued. 20 years to develop countermeasures to every weapon in your arsenal. 20 years to turn your own intelligence networks against you. 20 years to build something that could stand against the combined might of your civilizations. Minister Gorth slammed his primary fist onto his console, cracking the reinforced surface. Impossible. Our advanced scouts reported no evidence of military buildup. Your world showed no signs of advanced technology. Ross smiled, and there was something in that expression that made the most hardened warriors in the galaxy feel cold. Public technology, Minister. What we showed you. What we let you see. Did you really think we would display our true capabilities where your spy satellites could record them? The human artificial intelligence spoke again, its calm voice somehow more threatening than any battle cry. Would the Council like to see what we actually built while you were watching our public space program? Before anyone could respond, the tactical display changed again. This time, it showed not just the single human vessel floating outside their station, but dozens of similar energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Ships that had been hidden, cloaked, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The combined alien fleets found themselves completely surrounded by a human task force that had materialized from nowhere. Every escape route was blocked, every strategic position occupied by vessels that possessed technology beyond their understanding. The silence that followed was absolute. 300 warships representing the galaxy's most powerful civilizations were trapped like animals in a cage, and their captors were a species they had planned to conquer with a single battle group. Ross stood from his command chair, his image filling every screen in the council chambers. Gentlemen, ladies, and others, I believe it is time we discuss the future of this galaxy under new management. High Chancellor Vorth had ruled the core worlds for 3 decades, and in all that time, no one had ever dared to threaten him. His cybernetic eye glowed red as he processed the tactical situation developing around Theta Station. The human fleet had appeared from nowhere, surrounding his forces with impossible technology and casual arrogance. "You speak of new management as if you have already won," Vorth said, his mechanical voice echoing through the council chambers. "Your species numbers in the billions, while ours count in the trillions. A few advanced ships cannot hold an entire galaxy hostage, no matter how impressive your technology might be." Ross studied the alien leader through the communication link, noting the way his artificial parts gleamed under the chamber's lights. The core worlds had a reputation for replacing biological components with mechanical ones, believing it made them superior to purely organic life. It was an arrogance that humanity had planned to use against them. "You are absolutely correct, Chancellor," Ross agreed calmly. "A few ships cannot control a galaxy. But we are not here to conquer or control. We are here to deliver a warning, and to make sure that warning is taken seriously by those who have grown comfortable with being the ones who deliver ultimatums." The tactical displays around the chamber showed the human fleet in perfect formation around the alien vessels. Each ship was positioned with mathematical precision, creating overlapping fields of fire that would make escape impossible. Yet none of their weapons were active. No targeting systems were locked onto the alien ships. Counselor Thiss noticed this detail and felt a chill run through her tentacles. "If you do not intend to attack, why surround us? This is clearly a hostile action designed to intimidate." "To demonstrate capability," Ross corrected. "There is a difference between showing strength and using it. Every species in this chamber has used overwhelming force as their primary tool of diplomacy. You bomb first and ask questions later, if at all. Humanity prefers a different approach." The artificial intelligence called Oracle activated displays throughout the chamber, showing real-time footage from across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships had appeared near every major military installation, every occupied world, every fleet concentration that belonged to the Council powers. Minister Gorth watched his home fleet surrounded by vessels that had appeared without warning. "This is impossible. You cannot have built this many ships without our intelligence services detecting the construction." "Your intelligence services have been compromised for 15 years, Ross replied matter-of-factly. "Every report they sent, you about Earth was carefully crafted to show exactly what we wanted you to see. A primitive world struggling with basic space technology, decades away from threatening anyone." Admiral Krell felt his 3 hearts skip beats as he watched human ships surrounding his patrol fleets in the Outer Rim territories. "You have been feeding us false information for over a decade. Our entire assessment of human capabilities was manufactured." "Not entirely false," Ross said with a slight smile. "We really did struggle with early spaceflight. Our public programs really were limited and expensive. But while you were watching our government space agencies launch primitive rockets, our military-industrial complex was building something very different in hidden facilities." The display showed images of massive construction yards hidden in the asteroid belt, built inside hollowed-out rocks and powered by fusion reactors that left no detectable signatures. Thousands of humans had worked in complete secrecy, building a fleet designed specifically to counter every known alien military technology. Counselor Drex ran calculations through his cybernetic implants, trying to understand the scope of the human operation. The resources required for this deception would be enormous. Your entire planet would need to be involved in maintaining the fiction. 7 billion people keeping a secret, Ross confirmed. Every human child born since we detected your scout ships has grown up knowing this day would come. Every scientist, every engineer, every factory worker has contributed to this moment. We call it the Unity Project, and it represents the largest coordinated effort in human history. Chancellor Vorth accessed his personal communication network, sending orders to military commanders throughout the core worlds. Emergency protocols activated across 12 sectors as fleets moved to battle stations and defensive positions. The response was swift and efficient, exactly what one would expect from a civilization that had conquered half the galaxy. But as the reports came back, Vorth felt something he had not experienced in decades: genuine fear. Every fleet movement was being shadowed by human ships that had somehow anticipated their response. Every strategic position was already occupied by forces that had been waiting in complete concealment. "You knew we would respond this way," he said, his mechanical voice lacking its usual confidence. "We have been studying your military doctrine for 20 years, Ross replied. "Every tactical manual, every strategic planning session, every war game your forces have conducted, we know how you think, how you fight, how you respond to threats. That knowledge is our greatest weapon." The human artificial intelligence spoke from speakers throughout the chamber. "Attention, council members. Your fleets are receiving new orders to stand down and return to port. We suggest you comply with these instructions." Minister Gorth's arms gestured angrily. "We do not take orders from primitives. The hegemony has never retreated from a fight, and we will not start now." The tactical display changed to show one of the hegemony's most powerful dreadnoughts, a massive vessel capable of destroying small moons. As they watched, a human ship no larger than a fighter approached the alien warship and fired a single shot. The beam struck the dreadnought's main weapon array, and the entire massive gun simply ceased to exist, vaporized without affecting any other part of the ship. "That was a surgical demonstration," Ross explained as shocked silence filled the chamber. "Our weapons can remove specific components from your ships without harming the crew. We can disable your engines, destroy your weapons, or eliminate your life support with equal precision. The question is whether you force us to prove it." The implications were staggering. These humans possessed technology that could selectively target any part of their ships while leaving everything else untouched. It meant their crews were completely helpless, dependent on human mercy for their continued survival. "What do you want?" Chancellor Vorth finally asked, his mechanical voice barely above a whisper. Ross stood from his command chair, his image filling every screen in the council chambers. "We want you to remember this day. Remember that there are consequences for those who prey on the innocent. Remember that the galaxy has grown tired of your conquest campaigns and integration protocols." He paused, letting his words echo through the chamber before delivering his final message. "The age of easy conquest is over. From this day forward, any fleet found attacking developing worlds or threatening peaceful civilizations will find itself facing human intervention. We are not interested in ruling the galaxy, but we will protect those who cannot protect themselves." The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of machinery and the distant sound of human ships maintaining their positions around the most powerful fleets in known space. Everything had changed in the span of a few hours, and everyone in the chamber knew it. The galaxy's new guardians had announced themselves, and they were watching. Dr. Yara Singh had been dead for 3 years, according to official records. The brilliant xenobiologist had supposedly died in a transport accident while studying primitive cultures in the Outer Rim. In reality, she had been working undercover, as part of humanity's greatest intelligence operation, gathering information that would prove crucial to this moment. Now she stood in the secure briefing room aboard the Defiant, surrounded by displays showing the real-time reactions of alien governments across the galaxy. The Council powers were finally beginning to understand the scope of what humanity had accomplished, and the fear in their communications was almost tangible. "The Altarian Republic is recalling their expansion fleets," reported Commander Kim, from his position at the intelligence station. "Their military command is in complete chaos. They are trying to figure out how we infiltrated their computer networks so completely." Singh smiled grimly as she watched alien military leaders struggle to comprehend what they were facing. 20 years of careful planning had led to this moment, and every detail was unfolding exactly as they had hoped. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations were discovering that their military superiority was an illusion. Ross entered the briefing room, having just finished another communication session with the terrified council. "Status report. How are our friends handling their new reality?" "Better than expected in some cases, worse in others," Singh replied, activating a holographic display that showed the current positions of major alien fleets. "The core worlds are trying to organize a coordinated response, but they keep finding our ships already in position wherever they want to move. The Neural Collective is attempting to hack our systems and failing spectacularly." Oracle's voice filled the room as the AI provided additional analysis. "Counselor Drex of the Neural Collective has been running increasingly desperate computational attacks against our networks for the past 4 hours. All attempts have been neutralized without difficulty." Ross studied the tactical situation with satisfaction. The Neural Collective prided themselves on being the galaxy's premier information warfare specialists. Their cybernetic enhancement allowed them to process data and launch attacks at superhuman speeds, but they had never faced an artificial intelligence designed specifically to counter their capabilities. "Show them what they are really dealing with," Ross ordered. The main communication channel opened, connecting the Defiant directly to the council chambers where alien leaders were still trying to understand their situation. Singh appeared on their screens, and the recognition was immediate among those who had known of her work. "Dr. Singh," Counselor Thiss gasped, her tentacles writhing in shock. "You died 3 years ago. We attended your memorial service." "Reports of my death were carefully arranged," Singh replied calmly. "I needed to disappear from official records so I could complete my real mission. For the past 15 years, I have been traveling throughout the galaxy, studying your civilizations, learning your languages, understanding your cultures." She activated displays showing her journey across dozens of worlds, images of her working as a translator for hegemony diplomatic missions, serving as a technical advisor to Vorthan military commanders, even spending time as a researcher in core world laboratories. In every case, she had been hiding in plain sight while gathering intelligence. "I was not alone," Singh continued. "Hundreds of human operatives have been living among your populations, working in your governments, serving in your military forces, contributing to your scientific programs. You welcomed us because we were useful, never suspecting that we might have our own agenda." The revelation hit the council like a physical blow. If humans had been infiltrating their societies for decades, every secret could be compromised, every plan known to their enemies. The paranoia would tear apart their carefully constructed alliances. Minister Gorth activated his security protocols, sending orders to arrest any humans working in hegemony facilities. The response came back within minutes. The humans had already disappeared, vanishing from their positions as completely as if they had never existed. "They are gone," he reported to the council, his forearms trembling with rage. "Every human in our employ has vanished without a trace." "Of course they have," Ross said, his image appearing alongside Singh's on the main screen. "Did you think we would leave our people behind when their mission was complete? Every operative has been safely extracted to predetermined locations. Your security forces will find nothing but empty apartments and closed bank accounts." Admiral Krell felt his world spinning out of control. "How many of you were there? How deep does this infiltration go?" Singh consulted her data tablet before answering. deep enough to matter. Human operatives held positions in every major government, every significant military command, every important research facility. We have been your neighbors, your colleagues, your friends, and all that time we were sending information home to help prepare for this day. The display showed the scope of the intelligence network humanity had constructed. Thousands of operatives spread across hundreds of worlds, each one carefully positioned to gather specific types of information. Military capabilities, technological developments, political weaknesses, economic vulnerabilities, everything needed to understand and counter the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Chancellor Vorth accessed his most secure communication channels, trying to contact intelligence assets throughout the core worlds. Many did not respond. Others reported finding their human contacts had vanished completely. Decades of carefully cultivated spy networks were crumbling as the scope of humanity's counterintelligence operation became clear. "You turned our own methods against us," he said, his mechanical voice filled with something approaching admiration despite his anger. "We learned from the best teachers," Ross replied. "Every species you conquered, every world you destroyed, every population you enslaved taught us something about how you operate. But more importantly, they taught us how to resist you effectively." Sing activated another display, showing the faces of aliens who had helped humanity's intelligence efforts. Scientists who had shared technology, military officers who had revealed tactical information, politicians who had provided inside knowledge of council operations. All of them had reasons to hate the current galactic order. Not everyone was happy. "With your rule," she explained, "conquered populations remember their freedom. Enslaved species dream of liberation. Oppressed minorities hope for justice. We gave them something they had never had before, a chance to fight back effectively." The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just built an intelligence network, they had created a galaxy-wide resistance movement. Every world that had suffered under council rule had potential allies waiting for the right moment to rise up. "You have been planning a galactic revolution," Counselor Drex said, his cybernetic implants processing the full scope of what they were facing. "We have been planning freedom," Ross corrected. "Revolution is just the tool we chose to achieve it." The human artificial intelligence spoke from every communication device in the council chambers. "Attention, council members. Phase 1 of Operation Liberation has been completed successfully. Your military forces have been neutralized and your intelligence networks compromised. Phase 2 will begin in 6 hours unless you agree to discuss terms for a peaceful transition of power." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of alien leaders trying to comprehend how completely they had been outmaneuvered. In the space of a single day, their entire understanding of the galaxy had been turned upside down. The age of human ascendancy had begun, and there was no going back. The planet Kepler 7b had been under hegemony occupation for 8 years. Its blue-skinned inhabitants had been forced into mining operations that stripped their world of valuable minerals while their families lived in camps surrounded by energy barriers. Today, everything changed when human ships appeared in their sky. Lieutenant Maria Santos watched through her viewport as the massive hegemony garrison surrendered without firing a single shot. The alien commanders had received new orders. From their high command, withdraw from all occupied territories immediately or face complete destruction. After seeing what had happened at Theta Station, none were willing to test human resolve. "Liberation Fleet Alpha 7 to ground control," she broadcast in the native language of Kepler 7b. "Your world is now free. Repeat, your world is now free. All occupation forces are being evacuated. You may return to your homes." The reaction from the planet's surface was immediate and overwhelming. 8 years of oppression ended in minutes as humans' ships took control of orbital space and began coordinating with local resistance leaders. Similar scenes were playing out across dozens of worlds as the galaxy's new protectors made good on their promises. Back at Theta Station, the council chambers had become a place of barely controlled chaos. Representatives from various species were screaming at each other, trying to assign blame for the disaster that had befallen their carefully constructed empire. Military commanders reported the same story from every corner of the galaxy. Human ships appearing from nowhere, demanding immediate withdrawal from occupied territories. Chancellor Vorth slammed his mechanical fist onto his console, cracking the reinforced surface for the third time that day. This is madness. We cannot simply abandon decades of expansion because these humans make threats. They are not threats, Admiral Krell replied quietly, studying the tactical displays that showed human forces systematically dismantling their occupation networks. They are facts. Every fleet we send to resist them is defeated within hours. Every military installation we try to defend falls without our forces even getting close enough to fire their weapons. Ross appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from the bridge of the Defiant. Behind him, human officers worked with calm efficiency, coordinating liberation efforts across multiple star systems simultaneously. The contrast with the panic in the council chambers was striking and intentional. "Gentlemen, ladies, and others," Ross began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who held all the advantages. 6 hours ago, we gave you a simple choice. Agree to discuss terms for a peaceful transition or face Phase 2 of our operations. You chose to spend those hours arguing among yourselves instead of accepting reality. Minister Gorth activated his personal communication system, sending desperate messages to fleet commanders throughout hegemony space. The responses that came back were uniformly grim. Human ships controlled every strategic position, every supply route, every escape vector. His mighty war machine had been reduced to isolated groups of ships surrounded by superior forces. Phase 2 is now beginning, Ross announced calmly. All occupation forces have 36 hours to withdraw to their home territories. Any military vessels found in neutral space or near developing worlds after that deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Oracle's synthetic voice reached every communication device in the galaxy as the AI broadcast on all frequencies. This message is being transmitted to every inhabited world, every space station, every ship currently in operation. The age of conquest and oppression has ended. Developing civilizations are now under human protection. Occupied worlds are being liberated. The galaxy is free. Counselor Thys felt her tentacles writhe with anxiety as reports flooded in from Altarian territory. Human liberation fleets had appeared at every world under their control, demanding immediate evacuation of military forces. Local populations were celebrating in the streets as their oppressors fled without offering resistance. "You cannot enforce such a policy across an entire galaxy," she protested. "The logistics alone are impossible. You would need millions of ships and billions of personnel." Singh appeared on screen beside Ross, her expression showing the satisfaction of someone whose life's work had finally reached fruition. "We have exactly what we need, Counselor. 20 years of preparation and the support of every species that has suffered under your rule. Do you really think we are doing this alone?" The tactical display changed to show something that shook the Council to its core. Human ships were not operating in isolation. They were working alongside vessels from dozens of other species. Liberated. Worlds were providing support. Conquered populations were rising in rebellion. Former enemies were coordinating their efforts against the common oppressor. The Balarian survivors provided us with detailed intelligence about hegemony military capabilities, Singh explained, as the scope of the coalition became clear. The crystalline refugees shared their advanced energy technologies with our research teams. Every species you destroyed contributed something to this moment. Admiral Krell accessed his personal files, reviewing intelligence reports from the past 2 decades. With new understanding, he could see the signs that had been missed. Unusual cooperation between conquered species, technological developments that seemed to appear from nowhere, resistance movements that were suspiciously well coordinated. "You have been building this alliance for 20 years," he said, his voice filled with grudging respect for the scope of the operation. "We have been giving hope to those who had none," Ross corrected. "Every world you conquered, every population you enslaved, every culture you tried to destroy, they all remembered what freedom felt like. We simply gave them the tools to reclaim it." The display showed real-time footage from across the galaxy as the liberation continued. Occupation forces fleeing in panic as their positions became untenable, local populations emerging from years of hiding to reclaim their worlds, human ships coordinating with alien allies to ensure smooth transitions of power. Chancellor Vorth watched his empire crumble in real time, decades of expansion undone in a matter of hours. What happens now? You have destroyed the order that has kept this galaxy stable for generations. We have destroyed the tyranny that kept this galaxy in chains, Ross replied firmly. What comes next is up to all of us. Humanity offers partnership to those who seek cooperation, protection to those who need it, and swift justice to those who prey on the innocent. He stood from his command chair, his image filling screens across the galaxy as billions of beings watched history unfold. The old order is finished. No more conquest campaigns disguised as peacekeeping. No more integration protocols that destroy unique cultures. No more casual genocide of species that resist your expansion. Oracle's voice carried the weight of absolute authority as the AI delivered humanity's final ultimatum. All Council forces have 36 hours to reach their home territories. After that deadline, any military vessel found outside those boundaries will be considered a threat to galactic peace and eliminated without warning. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of alien leaders trying to process the complete collapse of everything they had built. In the space of a single day, the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had been reduced to regional powers, their military might neutralized by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Minister, Gorth was the first to break the silence. And if we comply with your demands? What guarantee do we have that you will not simply turn your weapons on our homeworlds once we are weakened? Ross considered the question carefully before responding. Because conquest was never our goal. Minister, we could have destroyed your fleets instead of surrounding them. We could have bombarded your worlds instead of demanding withdrawal. We could have eliminated your leadership instead of offering them a chance to adapt to the new reality. He gestured to the tactical displays showing human ships maintaining defensive positions around alien territories. Look at our formations. We are not positioned for attack. We are positioned to protect. Every liberated world, every freed population, every species that has suffered under your rule now has guardians watching over them. Singh stepped forward, her expression softening slightly as she addressed the council. We studied your methods for 20 years, and we learned something important. Fear and oppression create enemies, not allies. We choose a different path. Those who cooperate with the new order will find us to be fair and reasonable partners. The display showed scenes from liberated worlds where human forces were working alongside local populations to rebuild what had been destroyed. Medical supplies being distributed to refugee camps, agricultural equipment helping restore damaged farmland, educational programs teaching new technologies to species that had been denied advancement. Counselor Drex ran calculations through his cybernetic implants, analyzing the resource requirements for such widespread humanitarian efforts. This level of assistance would require enormous investment with no immediate return. Why would you commit such resources to helping strangers? Because it is the right thing to do, Ross replied simply. Because every species deserves the chance to grow and develop according to their own values. Because the galaxy becomes stronger when its members cooperate instead of competing through violence. Admiral Krell studied the human coordination efforts with professional interest. Your logistics are impressive, but maintaining this level of operation across galactic distances would strain even our combined resources. How long can you sustain such efforts? Oracle answered from speakers throughout the chamber. Human industrial capacity has been expanding continuously for 2 decades. Our automated production facilities can maintain current operations indefinitely while expanding to meet growing needs. Additionally, liberated worlds are already beginning to contribute their own resources to mutual defense efforts. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just built a military force capable of defeating the galaxy's powers, they had created a sustainable economic system that could support long-term peacekeeping operations. The liberated species were not just beneficiaries of human protection. They were becoming partners in maintaining galactic stability. Chancellor Vorth accessed communication channels to his remaining commanders, receiving reports from across core world territory. Human ships were maintaining respectful distances from their borders while clearly demonstrating the capability to enforce the new boundaries. It was a show of strength combined with restraint that spoke to genuine intentions. "You are offering us a choice," he said slowly, his mechanical voice reflecting deep consideration. "Adapt to the new order or face continued isolation and eventual irrelevance." "We are offering you the chance to be part of something better," Ross corrected. "Your civilizations have technologies and knowledge that could benefit everyone if used constructively instead of destructively. We do not want to destroy you. We want to redirect your capabilities toward positive goals." Singh activated displays, showing potential cooperation frameworks. The hegemony's industrial might could help rebuild worlds damaged by war. The Neural Collective's information processing abilities could coordinate relief efforts across multiple systems. The core world's administrative expertise could help establish fair governance systems for newly independent populations. The Council. Members looked at each other with expressions ranging from anger to resignation to cautious hope. The reality of their situation was undeniable. The old system of conquest and domination had been permanently destroyed. Their only choice was between adaptation or continued conflict against overwhelming odds. Counselor Thiss was the first to speak. "If we agree to these new arrangements, what assurances do we have that our own populations will be protected? Many of our worlds have resources that others might covet." "The same assurance we offer to every world," Ross replied. "Absolute protection against aggression, fair treatment in all interactions, and the right to develop according to your own values without outside interference. The new order applies to everyone, including humanity." He paused to let that point sink in before continuing. "We are not establishing human dominance. We are establishing universal principles of mutual respect and cooperation. Any species that violates those principles, including our own, will face the same consequences." The chamber fell silent as alien leaders contemplated this unprecedented offer. For the first time in galactic history, a dominant power was offering partnership instead of subjugation. The concept was so foreign to their experience that many struggled to understand it. Oracle's voice filled the silence with a final announcement. "Compliance deadline is now 24 hours. All occupation forces must begin immediate withdrawal. Liberation fleets will provide safe passage to any vessels departing occupied territories. Local populations will be provided with necessary resources to rebuild their societies." As the communication link closed, the council members found themselves facing the most important decision in galactic history. The age of conquest was over, replaced by something unprecedented, a chance for all species to thrive together in peace. Outside the station windows, human ships maintained their vigilant watch, ready to enforce the new order with overwhelming force or gentle guidance as circumstances required. The galaxy had been given a choice between cooperation and conflict, and the wise would choose wisely. The sky had gone black with human ships, and everything had changed forever. The only question now was whether the galaxy's former rulers would embrace the future or cling to a past that no longer existed. Time would tell, but for the first time in centuries, there was genuine hope for lasting peace among the stars.